She's sold more than 26 million albums and has performed to millions of people the world over.
Sarah Brightman has got a new album out. It's her first in 5 years. It's called Symphony. She's with us now. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
Let's have a quick listen to some of the album.
Okay.
It's gone quiet around us now. Guarda questa terra che c'era anche per noi, portarci un po' di sole.
A flavour of Symphony. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning.
This is what I would call a big listen, this album, isn't it? I mean, it's a massive sound.
It was actually great fun to do, because when I started the album I had a very sort of utopian view of what I wanted it to be. It was going to be very classical and golden, and as I went through the years of making it, I wanted something much darker and more gothic. So it's got sort of a great collaboration of people on it with me. I've got Paul Stanley from Kiss, which is sort of more rocky. I'm working with Andrea Bocelli on it and other people. So it's a very eclectic mix of songs there.
Yes, tell us a little bit about the duets actually, because they're really special.
They are. The one with Paul Stanley, the song, it delivers quite a dark message, and I needed really a rock singer that really could sing. And I knew that Paul Stanley had worked in Phantom of the Opera in Canada and played the role, so I knew he really could sing the notes, so that's how that came about.
The one who's going to make all the ladies' hearts melt though when they hear it is Andrea.
Yes, I know.
It's just such a great voice, and he comes in on that track as it's sort of swooping in from the wings, doesn't he?
Yes. Well, it was amazing actually, because after we did Time to Say Goodbye, and that became a sort of big hit and an evergreen all over the world, we didn't really want to record anything after that because you couldn't beat it. But then we decided to do something years later, and this is the first song we've recorded since then together, and it's called Canto della Terra.
It's beautiful.
I mean, you mentioned darker, you mentioned gothic, and your image as well seems much darker. Is that a change for you? Is that a sort of conscious thing?
Well, probably not. I mean, I was quite sort of gothic as a child. I had sort of very pale skin. I loved wearing black. I was into all sorts of horror stories and into those kind of darker books as a child. So it's actually probably a little bit of my soul in there.
Because the imagery here is of what's a sort of, I don't know, romantic princess almost trapped in a cavern. It's a great sound. But it took a long time to make. Was it 3 years?
It was actually, I made it over 5 years.
5 years.
Well, I'd been doing so many tours for so many years and so many albums, and I didn't want to sort of keep repeating myself, and I needed to sit back and wanted to make something a little different.
But how do you get the continuity? Because you also did it in, I counted, 6 different recording studios on 3 different continents. How do you know where you are?
Well, what happened during that time, I was also releasing best-ofs. I was doing a lot of charity concerts and things around the world, so that kind of had to follow me in a way, so that's why we ended up in so many studios. But it's good because you're in a different environment, you get different ideas, different people come into play.
Different producers?
No, I always work with the same producer, yes, I have done for years.
If you had to choose, which would be your favourite track?
I think there's a beautiful track on there called Sambian, which is in fact written by a lady called Lisa Gerard, who everybody knows from Dead Can Dance, and it's beautiful. It's like a contemporary vocalese, and it's a contemporary piece of classical music, really.
You've also done this, it's not a trick, it's well, it's a plan where you've taken classical themes and then vocalized them, like there's a bit of Mahler, for instance, which people will remember as from Death in Venice and that sort of thing. Now, somebody had to write some words for those.
Which I did with a German lyricist, which was great fun. And yes, I mean, I've always enjoyed classical music, and I've always enjoyed symphony work as well, and usually more than singers, I've loved instrumental classical works, and there are many sort of beautiful pieces out there which sound like tunes or pieces of music that somebody could sing to. So that's why I've tended to put vocals with these pieces. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but one's very careful about choosing.
So did you have to discard some things that you recorded then?
Yes, I'm continually recording, and yes, there are a lot of things that are discarded, not because they're bad, but because they feel they don't have their timing, and you find years later you actually think, actually that would really fit with what I'm doing now. So you re-record it and that's how they generally come out at some point or other.
And you've got an extraordinary mix, I'm right, okay, of classical and pop as well. Is that a difficult mix for you, or is that very natural for you?
It's because I had a long time to make the Symphony album. It actually wasn't difficult because I'd had time to do that. But because I've had like a 30-year-long career since my first sort of hit, I've worked in so many different styles that it seems very natural, I suppose, to sort of have that eclectic mix of styles in there.
I can't believe it's 30 years.
30 years, yes, I feel old.
Come on, what was the first hit? What was it?
I Lost My Heart to Starship Trooper in, I think it was it
I remember
78, 77?
Anybody who saw it at the time, there you are. That's you. It could almost, I mean, it's the same dark setting, not quite the sort of gothic image that you're looking for.
I think more the sort of like the end of the 70s disco era, which was good fun.
So presumably this is not in your repertoire anymore.
Well, sometimes it is. I actually did a gay pride concert for it in the park a couple of years ago, and everybody loved it. And it was actually great fun to redo.
That would definitely work.
And that's reminded me as well that you were part of the original Pan's People as well.
I wasn't part of the original.
Right,
I was the one straight after, but yes, I worked with Dee Dee and Babs and everybody. And I mean, for me at that age, I mean, I was just 17. It was a dream come true because I'd been watching Pan's People for all those years before, and like when I got in, I thought, I cannot believe this has happened to me. So it was the beginning of that enjoyment of enjoying success and pushing through and all of those things you do when you're a youngster and want to get on.
Is there, I'm interested by the idea that you've got recordings that you haven't used. So is there a vault of Sarah Brightman recordings which we can dig into at some point in the future?
Well, it's all sitting in a hard drive somewhere. Yes.
Really? Well,
yes.
How much?
Well, I couldn't tell you. I mean, as I said, recording for me is ongoing because I love doing it and I love experimenting with things and I like producing and writing, and so I couldn't tell you how much there is. But
are you going on tour? You're doing a tour?
I am. I'm doing a world tour. I'm starting in November in Mexico, going through the United States, then Canada before Christmas. That gets me to before Christmas.
Usually we get people coming and say, where are you starting to go? Well, Windsor, Worthing, Skegness.
Well, it's the same thing. It's a country.
Sarah, lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.